Hi there, Jeep owners. Today in your 2020 Jeep Wrangler, we're going to be taking a look at and showing you how to install etrailer.com's SD tow bar. The SD tow bar is available in various different kits to make sure that they'll attach to the base plate that you've got installed. We're currently using the kit that has ends for etrailer or Demco base plates, but we also have kits available that will attach to Volley or Reese base plates, Blue Ox or Curt base plates, Roadmaster base plates. There are two different kits for the crossbar style or the Reconnect style, as well as Duncan base plates. You'll want to make sure you get the appropriate kit with the ends that will attach to the base plate you're installing on your vehicle. While we've got our tow bar here in the storage position, I did want to point out that it's doing something that none of the other manufacturers' tow bars can do. One arm's completely off towards our passenger side, while the other's completely off towards the driver's side, giving us a spread of 180 degrees. Many of the other manufacturers' tow bars, they can only spread so far before the arms will stop, and they have a limited amount of spread. With this one having the 180 degree spread, the width for the base plate attachment points is much more variable on this one. So this is going to attach to just about any base plate out there, whereas the other manufacturers are limited depending on the width of the base plate tabs. Now on our Jeep here, it's not too big of an issue because these are pretty close together, but if you did have a larger vehicle like an F-150 or a Dodge Ram where they have a wider base plate attachment point, you might run into some issues with some of the other manufacturers' tow bars, and it's just not an issue on these. Now if you are towing a large truck or something like that with the wide spread, you do want to keep your weights in mind. This tow bar is rated for 6,000 pounds, but eTrailer also has the XHD model, which is rated for 10,500 pounds. So you are also going to be covered there, and that one has the exact same features here as the SD model. It's just with a much higher weight rating. Another thing that I really like about this tow bar, and for me this is a big one because I'm putting these in and out all day. We're doing videos and stuff like that, and I know it's going to be pretty big for you guys at home. If you've ever messed with the tow bar before, you know that they're pretty darn heavy. And once you get it in the receiver here, your work's not over. You still then have to lift these arms up and get them attached to your vehicle. With this tow bar here, you only got to do the work to get it attached to your motorhome, and in most cases you can just leave it stored back here at the back, just like it is when you're not using it. And whenever you are ready to use it, you don't have to fight the arms like the other manufacturers where you're holding those heavy arms up, because we have nice tension here and the arm holds up right by itself. So there's almost no work in it. You can easily push this around, bring the arm down to line it up. It's just couldn't be easier. With a lot of those other ones, I mean, you're gonna have to hold them up because there's just no assistance. You're bearing the whole weight of it trying to get these attached. But I mean, with this, it just glides right in. And it really does make a huge difference. I mean, I'm putting these in and out all day long, and it's just night and day on how I feel at the end of the day messing around with this tow bar versus the competitors. When you're done using your tow bar, there is a storage position. You'll see a small tab here on top, and these yellow hooks on each side will help keep your arms up, and you can put it on either side. I like to put one arm on each side, and to store them you just lift up on the arm to lower that peg down. We'll twist it over, and then we can lower our arm down, and that will hold it in place. We're going to do the same thing with our other arm on the other side. And you can take your safety cables and just wrap them around and clip them onto each other to keep those up off the road. Now we've got everything connected here. I did want to point out something that our tow bar does come with, and that's safety cables. And that's pretty nice, especially since it has cable management here to hold everything up. One of my favorite tow bars from Roadmaster is the Falcon All-Terrain, and I'd say that's a pretty good competitor for this one right here, as the All-Terrain does have channels in it for your safety cables as well as your wiring. The Falcon All-Terrain does not come with the safety cables, so you will need to make sure you purchase your own set in addition with those. The eTrailer comes with it, so that's one less thing that you have to think about. On the side here, our cable management on the eTrailer tow bar is going to be a rod here that allows you to put a coiled cable over it. You do want to keep that in mind when purchasing your cable, because there are a lot of styles here at eTrailer, and I highly recommend a coiled cable with this tow bar. If you were going with the Falcon All-Terrain, that one, in order to use its cable management, it would require you to have a straight cable in order to pass it through the channels. And with that, you also have to remove the ends from it, pass it through the channel, and then reconnect them. With this one, it's as simple as sliding the coiled cable over here and then securing it with the pin, so it's a little bit less work to get it set up. The non-binding levers on our eTrailer tow bar here, I personally find these to be a little bit easier than the Roadmaster ones. The lever here actually is this small tab here, and this is just kind of gives you a good place for the palm of your hand to really press in and dig in to get it to release. And it just feels smoother, like it releases better than with the Roadmaster. The Roadmasters are on top, and they do have a longer lever, so you would think that it would be easier with that longer lever. But when you pull that lever up, you can kind of feel it pop, but it doesn't release until that lever is kind of halfway on its way back down, and it can just be kind of finicky, especially since you have to hold the weight up on that Roadmaster tow bar while you're trying to do all this. This is just a little bit easier. You can kind of grab the bar. It's all one fluid motion. I just prefer this style. I think you'll find it easier as well. And to help protect your investment, keep your tow bar out of the elements, we have a cover available here at etrailer.com, and this is also nice when you're storing it on the back of your motorhome because you can keep all your cables and wiring and everything tucked up in this bag when you're not using it. And to ensure long life and high quality looks, there's an e-coat finish over it to protect it against the elements and prevent any rust or corrosion. I've also got some measurements for you here so you can see the dimensions and how it's going to sit between your vehicle and your motorhome. The arm length when retracted is going to be 39¼ inch, and that's from the center of the hitch pin hole to the edge here. And when extended, it's going to measure 51¾ inch. So you've got over 10 inches of travel on our shaft here. But we can make some small adjustments to that length here. In our shank where it goes into our receiver, there are 2 hitch pin holes. The first one I gave you is for the furthest hole, which is going to be the longest length, but you can cut that down by 2 inches by using the hole that's slightly closer to our arms here. There's 5 main components you'll need when flat towing your vehicle. The tow bar being one of those. In addition to your tow bar, you're also going to need your safety cables, which is a supplemental connection in addition to your tow bar. You'll also need your diode wiring, which takes the lighting from your motorhome and sends it to the lights at the back of your vehicle. Your base plate, which is the connection point on your vehicle for your tow bar and your safety cables to attach to. And lastly, your supplemental braking system, which will apply the brakes in your vehicle when you hit them in your motorhome. When you're ready to hook up your tow bar, one of the first things you need to do is to determine which position you'll need it in. Currently, we've got it here in the drop position, and you can see that because the shank here where it's going to slide in our receiver is higher than the lower portion here where our tow bar bolts and stuff attach to the shank portion. To determine what position you'll need it to be in, you'll want to take a couple measurements. One you'll want to do here at your motorhome on the receiver at the back, and we want to measure it to the center of our receiver down to the ground. And we're right at about 15 inches, maybe slightly higher than that. Then you'll want to measure to the center of your base plate attachment point on your vehicle. And on our Jeep here, we're at about 17½ inches. So the difference between those two is about 2½ inches. And a general rule of thumb is that you want to be within 3 inches, plus or minus, between the two, which we are. But since we're in the drop position, this pushes us down another 1.5 inches in the drop position. And that's going to put us below that 3-inch mark. If we flip this over and put it in the rise position, we're going to be very close to being level. In some cases, if this measurement is further than 3 inches and you can't make the adjustment with your tow bar here by switching its position, you may need a drop or a rise. In the event that the difference between your vehicle and your motorhome is greater than 3 inches and you can't make that up with the 1.5 inch adjustment here, you may need a high-low adapter, which we've got available here at etrailer.com to help you make up that difference to give you a nice level tow bar when you're towing. That's going to ensure that it's pulling directly on the front of your vehicle and not up or down, which can potentially wear out your suspension. To flip this over, we are going to loosen up the 2 adjustment screws. There's one on each side here. They have the slotted hole. Save those. We are going to be just reinstalling them here. And also the large nut here in the center. And we've already loosened it up here. It did use a 1 1/8 inch socket and wrench for the big bolt here. The smaller ones here, they come shipped pretty much just hand tight, but they are going to be a 3/4 inch if you need that as well. This bolt is pretty tight. So we will have to kind of just tap it out. I'm going to go get a little hammer and a little punch because we don't want to damage the threads. A good way to ensure you don't damage the threads is to thread your nut on the other end and then tap on it. That'll help you get it started, and then if you need to, you can use a punch from there. Once our nut hits there, we'll just take that off and we'll use a little punch. We're just using a 3/8 extension and just finish tapping it out. We can now slide this component out. It is going to be a little snug just because of the bushings and things like that there. We just flipped it over to put it in the rise position. You can see how it's now above where we're going into our receiver. And you'll know which position it's in because this head of this large bolt here will always be on top. If you see a nut and threads, that's always the bottom. So we're just sliding it back in now, lining up those holes again, and just reinstalling the hardware that we had removed. Now that we've got it flipped over, we're just going to tighten it back down on our large bolt here. And then we'll torque it to the specifications in our instructions. Now that we've got the correct position chosen and installed, we're going to go ahead and slide our tow bar into the receiver. You do have two holes, you can use either one. We're going to go ahead and use the one that gives us a further distance. So the one that's going to be furthest away from the arms. You could use either, and then we're going to secure it with the included pin. Now we're going to do the next step in adjusting our head. Now regardless if you flipped it over, when you take it out of the box, these adjustment bolts are going to be loose and we're going to have to set that up. So we're going to hook up to our vehicle now. Now the ends for your tow bar are going to vary depending upon which kit you've chosen. We've got various kits here at etrailer.com to work with manufacturer's base plates, and when you get those you'll just use the hardware that comes included to get those attached. Now if you have a Demco tabless base plate, the ends here are going to come with your base plate, and that's what we've got installed here is the tabless ends from Dempco. And the hardware comes with your base plate in that instance. We'll then take the ends and attach those to our base plate, and the way they attach is going to vary depending upon your manufacturer. With Demco, they simply just slide in like this, and then we have a pin we're going to slide in to lock it in place. Once you've got the holes lined up and your pin slid through, you can lock it in place on the other side, and then we're going to repeat the same process with the other arm on our tow bar over on the other side. Now we are just doing the setup, but it's still good practice to make sure that you hook up all of your connections. So we're going to hook up our safety cables next, and these do come included with our tow bar, and they're pre-attached onto the anchors here so it stays nice and neat. And when you're attaching these, you want to make sure you cross your cables over here on the motorhome side. So this is the driver's side arm that I connected on the vehicle. I'm hooking it to the passenger side on our motorhome. We're going to do the same thing with our other one here. We want to make sure we feed these down so that way, in the event of a catastrophic disconnect, we have created a cradle which will catch our receiver to keep it from digging into the pavement. Now we've gone ahead and hooked up the rest of our flat tow components for our braking system and our wiring. One of the things that you'll see here is this rod coming off of our arm here on our driver's side. Typically we like to put this on the outside to ensure that it doesn't get pinched into anything in here. And this is just a cable management rod that you can slide your coily cable over. There's a little pin here to help keep it so it doesn't slide back off, and that just keeps things from dragging down and potentially hitting the pavement. But now that we've got it all the way connected, we're going to place our vehicle into flat tow mode, and then we're just going to pull forward until our arms lock into place. It's useful if we have an assistant to help us and let us know, because we only need to pull forward to that point, and then we can make our adjustment here at the head. And once we finish that, we have completed our motorhome and vehicle setup, which we'll never have to do again for this combination. I'm now going to go ahead and pull forward, and my assistant's going to let me know when the arms lock into place. And now that they're locked into place, we're going to head back to the tow bar. So now that both of our arms have locked into place, we've come back and we're going to check our head. We want to make sure that our bolt here is perpendicular with our base plate, and pretty much that it's nice, straight up and down and level. And if we look at our base plate and our whole flat tow setup here, everything is nice and level across. So we're then ready to just tighten these down and torque them to the specifications found in our instructions. We're going to do this with a 3/4 inch socket. Once I get them both snug, then I'm going to switch to that socket and torque wrench. And now we've completed our setup of our eTrailer SD tow bar between our motorhome and our vehicle. These two are now paired together and perfectly matched with our adjustment. So all we need to do now, we need to hook up, is just attaching it here to the base plate. We never have to make any adjustments here again unless we were to change motorhomes or vehicle. And that completes our look at etrailer.com's SD tow bar on our 2020 Jeep Wrangler.